Hello! If you have a 2014 or newer Jeep Cherokee and you want to do brakes, you're going to find that buying the parts for them is a little bit tricky. So I'm going to give you some tips to try and figure out which brakes are on your Jeep so that you can get the right ones the first time. Now when you're buying brakes for a Jeep Cherokee, one of the things that you run into is they ask if you have a dual piston caliper or a single piston caliper. Now this on my Jeep is a dual piston caliper. A single piston would look more like this. And this is a caliper off of a totally different car, but you can see it only has this one circle inside, which is the piston. Once I take this off, I'll show you what's inside that, and I'll show you how to tell if it's a dual piston or a single piston. To start off with, while it's on the car, you can actually see that this is a dual piston caliper, and you can see that because like right here looks like a number 8, and that means there's one piston here and one piston here. And we can compare that to my single piston caliper right here, and you can see that there's just one large circle on the back as opposed to two large circles here and here. So once we take this off, you'll kind of get a better understanding of what I mean. Alright, so with the caliper off, you can see that this one has two pistons right here and right here, and that would be compared to a single piston caliper right here. So you can see this has one piston in the center. The back side of it looks like one giant circle. This has two pistons, and the back side is sort of shaped like a number 8. I don't know, that's the way I imagine it at least. So you can see there's one piston on this side and one piston on this side. So the other thing that you need to look for on these Cherokees is the actual diameter of the brake rotors. Now it seems to only matter for the back, so let's take a look at the back. Alright, at the back of the car, you need to know whether your rear disc is 10.9 or 12.6 inches across. Looks like mine is 12.6. But you can kind of get a good idea of what this is without even taking your wheel off, because you can kind of measure it right through the wheel. That's one of the cool things about the Jeep wheels, is that they have plenty of space to see through. But yeah, this one happens to be 12.6 inches. The other option is 10.9. There's about an 1.5 inch difference there, so it's pretty easy to tell which one is which just by looking through the wheel and taking a tape measure to it. So in this case, it's 2015 Cherokee. Has the BRG brake option because I called the dealer just to figure out what the heck it was. And mine has dual piston front calipers, and it has 12.6 inch rear disc or 320 millimeters if you're into the metric system. So hopefully that helps you out. I don't know if all of them will be the same as far as the BRG option, but from my research that seems to be the case. BRF options have the smaller rear disc that are 10.9 inches or 278 millimeter, and they have the single piston front calipers. The other option you might see is heavy duty brakes, which I have read is the towing option brake package, and I don't actually know what the difference is between the calipers and the rotors on that, but apparently some Cherokees with tow packages had a heavy duty option. I'm not really sure what that includes though, so that's out of my area of expertise. Alright, for the bolt that holds the brake rotor on, you're going to need a 5mm Allen head wrench or socket like this one. I tightened up the caliper bracket bolts with this giant E20 Torx bit to 129 foot-pounds. The calipers themselves on the slide pins here, those were 32 foot-pounds. And now I'm going to torque the wheel torque to 100 foot-pounds. So a couple of things worth noting is this has an electric parking brake on it, which you can see the mechanism for it right here. And you have to release that from the inside of the Jeep in the dashboard controls. So let me show you that. Alright, inside the Jeep, you want to hit more, then settings, then safety assistance, then brakes, then brake service mode, and then would you like to retract parking brakes to allow a brake system service? Yes, you would. So you click yes, and when you click yes, it retracts the brake pistons in the rear of the Jeep so that they are no longer activated, and then you can just squeeze the piston down to do a normal brake job. In my case, I already did this, so I'm gonna hit no. And then, once you're done with the job, and the brakes are all put back together, what you want to do is, there's going to be a screen here with a red X on it that says, if you're done with your brake job, then push your brake pedal, and then lift up on this. And when you lift up on that, it resets the rear brake pistons to the parking brake mode, and all is well. Now, the caliper bracket is actually held in with two T55 Torx bolts. With the parking brake released from the inside of the Jeep, you can actually just squeeze this thing in with some giant pliers or whatever. It doesn't have to turn or anything like that. It just pushes in like a normal brake caliper. What I used was this massive pair of pliers, and I went on the bolt that holds the parking brake mechanism in place. Sorry for the darkness. And just squeezed it in. You want to make sure that you don't put any kind of real pressure on the plastic housing, because that, I assume, would crack pretty easily. So, anyways, you just push the piston back in, is the short version. So, good luck on your brake search, and we'll see you next time.